welcome and thank you so much for joining us. This is Africa Today. My name is Nahabe Kajura. But first at the headlines. Uganda Airlines to seal a big deal with Airbus at Dubai Air Show. FDC not certain on whether they will serve their purpose. AU envoy warns Ethiopia talks won't succeed without ceasefire. In our sports today, Cranes end World Cup campaign on losing note. Once again, thank you so much for joining us. We start with one of our top stories. Now, Uganda Airlines has partnered with aerospace giants Airbus to showcase the national carrier's A330neo at the Dubai Air Show that kicks off today, but also seal a big deal with a French company. We have more on this report.
In a statement released on Saturday, the Ugandan national carrier will showcase its A330-800 neo registration number 5X NIL at the 4-day Dubai Air Show in a static display at the Al Maktoum Airport, Dubai World Central. According to the national carrier, the Dubai Air Show will be used to more growth opportunities, exploring more global beneficial partnerships that could practically offer reciprocal arrangements for growth of its aviation journey. Describing the A330-800 neo fleet as the true symbol of Uganda's culture, Uganda Airlines says the Dubai Air Show is an opportunity to market itself and Uganda as the Pearl of Africa to the outside world. Uganda Airlines will be exhibiting with pride as owners of the new generation, pioneering a technology like the quietest cabin, larger bins, mood lighting, the latest in-flight entertainment system, innovative cockpit systems, less by 25% fuel burn per seat, new high-span wing and wellness advanced HEPA air filters. According to the Uganda Airlines, the Dubai Air Show will be an opportunity for the national carrier to seal a big deal with the French aerospace giants Airbus. The Dubai Air Show will bring together global aviation industry leaders in aircraft manufacturing, cargo handling, and the entire aviation supply chain.
Well, thank you so much, our reporter Najuma. Moving on, Opposition Forum for Democratic Change, FDC, has welcomed a parliamentary inquiry into the use of billions for manufacturing COVID-19 vaccines. Now, the Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Anita Amongi, directed the Minister of Science, Technology and Innovation, Dr. Monica Musenero, to present a report on the status of the COVID-19 vaccine development. Our reporter Nalugo has more.
Addressing journalists at their party headquarters in Najjanankumbi, the FDC party spokesperson, also Chira municipality legislator Ibrahim Semjunganda, said the funds released to manufacture vaccines would not be necessary since the country continues to receive vaccine donations from developed countries.
Because if you have donations that are covering the entire population, but you're also buying to cover 22 and that's your target, but you're also spending money to manufacture, I think Museveni needs to tell the country who that vaccine that he himself will manufacture with Musenero will vaccinate.
Last week, Ntungamo Municipality MP Yona Musinguzi tabled before the House documentary evidence seeking to implicate the Minister of Science, Technology and Innovation, Dr. Monica Musenero, regarding the utilization of funds meant to facilitate the COVID-19 vaccine development. Deputy Speaker Anita Monk then formally moved a motion for setting up a select committee which was approved by the MPs. Meanwhile, FDC also advised President Yoweri Museveni to begin a dialogue that should result into peaceful transfer of power if Uganda is to avoid regional conflicts and violence that are happening in the Democratic Republic of Congo, Sudan and Somalia.
As FDC, we have said, and I want to reiterate that we will be willing to participate in an honest and transparent dialogue to get Uganda out of this situation, because we think as day follows night, we are on our way to where Ethiopia is, to where Khartoum is, to where Congo is.
Nalugo Muyingo, Africa Today.
Moving on in our top stories, the African Union's Special Envoy for the Horn of Africa, Olusegun Obasanjo, remains hopeful that dialogue can end Ethiopia's year-long war, but warned in a statement released Sunday that such talks cannot deliver without an immediate ceasefire. We have more on this report.
The former Nigerian president is leading an international push to end a conflict that has cost thousands of lives and displaced 2 million people, as fears of a rebel march on Ethiopia's capital Addis Ababa prompt flurry of diplomatic activity. Obasanjo, who left Ethiopia on Thursday after meeting with Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed and the leadership of the Tigray People's Liberation Front rebel group, said he was optimistic that common ground towards a peaceful resolution of the conflict can be secured. But with fighting intensifying in recent weeks and the Tigray People's Liberation Front claiming major territorial gains, he warned that such talks cannot deliver in an environment of escalated military hostilities. He therefore appealed to the leadership of all sides to halt their military offensives to allow an opportunity for dialogue to continue to progress. His comments came ahead of a three-nation visit to Africa by United States Secretary of State Antony Blinken, who has backed Obasanjo's efforts at mediation and threatened to impose sanctions on Abiy's government and the Tigray People's Liberation Front unless they move forward on talks. Ethiopia on Thursday laid out conditions for possible talks with the rebels, including a halt to attacks, a Tigray People's Liberation Front withdrawal from the neighboring areas of Amhara and Afar, and recognition of the government's legitimacy. The Tigray People's Liberation Front, in turn, is demanding that aid be let into Tigray, the region where the conflict erupted last year. No assistance has arrived by road since October 18th, and 364 trucks are stuck in Afar, waiting authorization, according to the United Nations. The war broke out last November after Tigray People's Liberation Front forces, federal army bases killing soldiers.
Well, thank you so much, our reporter Kachanchu. We take a quick break. We shall come back with the international news. Welcome back for the break. You're still watching TV Africa The Right to Know. In our international news today, thousands of Congolese took the streets to Kinshasa, the capital of the Democratic Republic of Congo, to demand a neutral poll body after President Felix Tshisekedi installed a close friend to head the Electoral Commission. Now, Tshisekedi's move last month came despite the objection of both Catholic and Protestant religious leaders and the opposition. We have more on this report.
The opposition in the Democratic Republic of Congo claims Denis Kadima, the new head of the National Independent Electoral Commission, is corrupt and has a strong affiliation with the president. A protester, Ndombasi, said that they would not give a chance to what he calls as electoral fraud. Marlene Ivuvu, another protester, said that the people are sovereign under Article 5 of the Constitution, and they will exercise that sovereignty until they achieve depoliticization of the Electoral Commission and better elections. Some protesters called for the return of former President Joseph Kabila, who ruled the Democratic Republic of Congo for 18 years before Tshisekedi came to power in January 2019. A member of the Catholic Coordinating Committee, Have Diakis, said that the country would not allow the elections to be barred. The current president was chosen in much-delayed elections in December 2018, which were peaceful but marred by accusations of fraud. The next presidential election is set for December 2023, and Tshisekedi has said he intends to run despite allegations of fraud leveled against him during the 2018 polls. Former Parliament Speaker Albin Minaku, ex-Premier Bruno Shibala, and previous Interior Minister Emmanuel Ramazani Shadari attended the demonstrations.
Apart from that, Sudanese security forces killed at least 5 demonstrators on Saturday in a crackdown on anti-coup protests after the military tightened its grip by forming a new ruling council. Now, according to the medics, 4 of the victims were shot dead, while 1 died from suffocation by tear gas.
The pro-democracy protests comes nearly 3 weeks after top General Abdul Fattah al-Burhan ousted the government, detained the civilian leadership, and declared a state of emergency. The Independent Central Committee for Sudanese Doctors said 3 of the deceased were killed in East Khartoum and 2 in Khartoum's twin city of Omdurman. Speaking in Arabic, one of the protesters, Mohammed Ahmed, said that they have been oppressed so much in their short history on the day of the coup, adding that they broke into their dormitories at the University of Khartoum, abused and violated them. A large number of people were also wounded by live rounds, according to medics. Security forces went to one hospital in Omdurman and detained several of the wounded. The latest dates brings to 20 the number of people killed in anti-coup protests since the military takeover on October 25th, according to the medics. State television reported that 39 police personnel were severely wounded in clashes with protesters. The police accused protesters of attacking police stations, saying the demonstrations began as peaceful but quickly veered off course. They denied using live rounds, saying that they used only minimum force. Gunshots were heard and tear gas fired as security forces tried to break up the protests, according to witnesses, as people chanted civilian rule as the people's choice. The U.S. Embassy in Khartoum said it deeply regrets the loss of life and injuries of dozens of Sudanese citizens demonstrating today for freedom and democracy.
Well, thank you so much, reporter Najuma. Moving on, environmentalists looking after one of the world's most biodiverse rainforests in Madagascar are increasingly worried about climate change putting endemic wildlife at risk. Take a look at the story.
Foreign broadcaster followed a small group of guardians of the Analamazawotra forest in east-central Madagascar who said poverty fueled by global warming is driving deforestation and poaching. They said that extreme weather patterns pose the most serious problem, especially affecting the nation's lemur population. One of the forest guardians, Yusuf, said that this was meant to be the rainy season, but they have no rain, pointing to an extended dry period with parts of the south without sufficient rainfall for more than 4 years. Madagascar is one of the world's lowest carbon emissions emitters, yet is severely affected by yearly cyclones, long droughts followed by flooding. The climate changes have forced the disadvantaged to increasingly turn to cutting trees, poaching wildlife for sale, even eating the animals and plants to survive, Sky said. On Saturday, countries agreed a new deal at the climate summit in Glasgow, but the agreement was criticized for not making firm commitments to help developing countries mitigate the effect of climate change.
Away from that, residents of favelas around the Brazilian city of Rio de Janeiro celebrated Black Awareness on Saturday with music and dancing, paying homage to the heritage of many who live in these communities. Our reporter has more.
In the Santa Marta favela, where Michael Jackson recorded the song They Don't Care About Us, locals wore colorful costumes and danced in the streets to drums and tambourines. Marcos Faustin, Rio de Janeiro's Secretary of Culture, said that as they leave the pandemic, they decided together with City Hall to create a project to encourage popular culture, thought and activism around Black culture, one of the biggest identities of Carioca culture. Rio City Hall sponsored the Folia de Reis events to highlight Black awareness in favelas, giving locals a sense of pride and appreciation in their communities, which are divided with gang violence and economic uncertainty. A master clown, Ronaldo Jr., said that Folia de Res culture means parting, meeting up, love and devotion, adding that when you hear the drums of the parade in Santa Marta, it's happiness, it's parting, children running, cymbals, drums, tambourines. Brazil kicked off Black Consciousness Month with the promise of educating the community about the trials, tribulations, and accomplishments of Black people throughout South and Latin America. During November, many have vowed to recognize Black history and culture awareness ahead of the nationwide observance of Black Consciousness Day on November 20th. Brazil's Black community's progress includes a nearly 2-decade-old law that requires the teaching of Afro-Brazilian history and culture in schools. The text of the law states that every school in the nation should teach the history of African and Africans, the struggle of Black people in Brazil, Afro-Brazilian culture, and the contributions of Black people in forming national society, including social, economic, and political areas relevant to the history of Brazil.
Well, thank you so much, our reporter. We'll take a quick break. We shall come back with the business news. Welcome back from the break. You're still watching TV Africa, the right to know. In the business news today, in central Madagascar, what was once a dense forest on the side of a mountain is now dotted with mines where thousands of people risk their lives daily looking for precious stones. We have more on this report.
The workers are lowered into tunnels that stretch up to 70 meters deep in the mountain. Some struggle to breathe and the air needs to be bumped constantly. Many have no alternative and appear defiant in the face of adversity. One miner who opted to remain anonymous says that he is not afraid at all, adding that he is used to this work where he makes money out of it. According to the UN, climate change has caused such widespread drought and famine that people living in Madagascar are forced to cut down trees to sell coal and engage in activities like illegal mining. Deforestation has also affected the country badly, therefore increasing its vulnerability to effects of climate change.
Away from business, in our health news today, this would pass any other usual trash by the roadside, but on a closer examination, one would notice that used face masks are part of the trash. Now, wrongful disposal of face masks is becoming a great concern in Kenya, with an increase in the number of face masks being used daily due to the enforcement of mask mandate. We have more on this report.
The government had put the mandate in place in an effort to contain the spread of COVID-19, but a dilemma on how to handle used face masks is in the offing, according to Dorcas Alivista, a pharmaceutical technologist. Dorcas Alivista added that apart from COVID and the current situation, some people are also having diseases like TB, which are communicable, arguing that dispose them of like securely with other medical waste will have handled not only COVID but other communicable diseases that people are transmitting when using the masks. Some of the wrongfully disposed of masks find themselves into this already polluted river. The main concern is what impact will they have on the environment. The Ministry of Health, in conjunction with National Environment Management Authority of Kenya, had laid down guidelines on how to safely discard the face mask, but that has not helped much in solving the problem. Dorcas Alivesta concluded that in a home setup, she would advise masks to be burnt after they are used, so that they are also going to handle the issue of people who are going to take masks that have been used and just wash them and resell.
Away from that, let's turn your attention to our sports news today. Nantes forward Khalifa Koulibaly scored the winner as Mali subjected Uganda to its only defeat in the 2022 World Cup qualifiers. Now the striker headed home from a free kick after Ismail Wantega misjudged the flight of the ball. We have more on this report.
Uganda Cranes coach Milutin Micho-Srejovic made a couple of changes from the team that started against Kenya, with Watenga, Alan Okello, Ibrahim Wariti and Halidi Lualila all starting. The first half saw the Cranes sit back cautiously, letting the hosts to dominate, and had only one chance that hit the crossbar of a Mali defender. In the second half, the Cranes had a more positive approach, pressing high up the pitch and asked few questions to the Mali defense. Bobosi Byaruhanga shot narrowly wide from a free kick over 25 yards and forced the Mali goalkeeper to spill another. Okello scored from the rebound, but he was in an offside position and the goal didn't start. Oriti headed narrowly wide from Isaac Amlema delivery, while Mkwala backheel was easily saved by Ismailia Diwara. Okello also shot wide after the Mali defense had cleared their lines off a low cross from Kiza. At the other end, substitutes Ahmad Traore combined well to force two good saves from Watenga, while another good shot missed target by inches. The camp ends with Uganda second on 9 points, a whooping 7 behind Mali, who have not lost any game, scored 11 and conceded none despite playing all their games away from home.
Well, thank you so much for being a loyal audience from where we started from. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We shall keep updating you. It is TV Africa, the right to know.